Welcome to another Taylor NewsBreak. I'm Carl Zymak. Usually around this time of year, thousands of families would be visiting Santa's Magic Forest in Heritage Park. For the second straight year, the Magic Forest has been canceled, thanks to the ongoing concerns over the COVID-19 worldwide pandemic. A mainstay of the holiday season, here in Taylor, Santa's Magic Forest is widely known as Downriver's premier holiday display. It usually opens on Thanksgiving weekend during the Winterfest and runs through Christmas. The magical winter wonderland includes hundreds of animated characters, many of which came from the old famous J.L. Hudson's Downtown Christmas display of decades ago. It offers dozens of Christmas scenes and beautiful holiday light displays. Visitors always have had an opportunity to visit with Santa and Mrs. Claus and have their picture taken with them. So where does Santa's Magic Forest go from here? We're going to find out today. Santa's Magic Forest is also the largest fundraiser for the Fish and Loaves Community Food Pantry. The organization is a non-profit group located at 25670 North Line Road. It provides food and nourishment to families in need in Taylor and the surrounding communities. Our guest today is a good friend, Reverend Dr. Geoffrey Drutchas, President of the Board of Directors of the Downriver Fish and Loaves Food Pantry and a key player each season in Santa's Magic Forest. Welcome, Reverend.
Carl, great to see you.
That was a mouthful. That was a long introduction for what we usually do. Let's start at the deep end. Okay, this year's cancellation.
Yes.
Last year, totally understandable. We were in the midst of pandemic. This year, a little bit different. What were your greatest concerns?
Well, our greatest concerns, the COVID pandemic continues. And even though things seem to be a little bit tamer than before, Santa's Magic Forest is a wonderful, very intimate space with kids, many of whom, most of whom would have been unvaccinated still at that time. And, you know, we're always concerned about the well-being of everyone who comes into the forest.
Sure.
So that really was the decisive factor. It just wasn't, these weren't the best conditions to be able to provide a safe environment for the forest this year and for the kids and families that are so much a part of it.
Who usually makes those kind of decisions? Is that the board?
It's usually the board. The board makes the decision on these things. The board of directors, composed of volunteers from the community, Taylor and a couple of surrounding communities.
Gotcha. Did you ever consider any other ways of getting around the concerns, changing venues, limiting capacities, anything like that?
No. First of all, the venue is it's a gorgeous venue.
Yes, it is.
And these are displays that are possessed. I mean, Taylor owns them, and with volunteer help has maintained them. Just the logistics of trying to find another location that was going to be safer, it just wasn't viable.
Sure, exactly. What are the future plans for the event? I think that's what most people are concerned about, because I've talked to people who openly fear its demise. Anytime anything goes away for an extended period of time, you get that kind of concern. But I know, talking to you earlier for our release that we put out, that wasn't where you were headed.
No. This is a real treasure, a real delight. We've been so happy to be a part of this, bringing joy to families who come year after year to see it. It makes their Christmas. And there's just nothing else like it in the metro area. We've had various magazines that have come in from the metro area, and they've just said this is nothing to compare to it. So we've been proud to be a part of it, and glad to see the delight it brings to children and families. So no, this will come back. It's just a matter of making sure we can do so in a safe way. And my hope is that over this next year, and I know we had hopes even going into this Christmas that things would be a lot better. But my hope and prayer is that by this next Christmas, we are going to, one Christmas from this, we're going to be able to host Santa's Magic Forest again.
Which would be fantastic. I know for people who might not have ever gone to Santa's Magic Forest, there aren't that many of them, I don't think.
No.
But you know, it's for those of us who do remember downtown J.L. Hudson's and how special that was. It is a grab at the past.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It is very
there's no
much
doubt
so.
about that.
One scene after another, again, each differently themed, and all of these wonderful animatronic figures that have been again restored and operate beautifully. So it's been a real labor of love to put it together. A lot of work, but a labor of love, and just to see the delight and of those who come to see it, and the benefit to the community,
I hear
bringing us together.
That somewhat leads us directly into our other obvious area of concern here. Getting enough volunteers to set up the display each year, people who actually run the operation, that kind of thing. The group has aged, just like most others. I know the Historical Society, I've had that conversation with George Guth and things like that. What have you done to set up Santa's Magic Force moving forward? Have you focused on any specific areas other than just putting out the word that we could use volunteers? Or
well, we've tried to bring in younger people to help. First of all, become familiar with Santa's Magic Forest and develop some of the know-how that's going to be necessary to continue it. You're right. The leadership, those who have put the hours in to bring it together, we're all getting older, and they've gotten older as well. But I just trust that there's going to be fresh leadership that comes forth, and we're still going to have those who are experienced to consult, to provide then direction, to make sure it's in place this next year.
Which is fantastic. Any concerns over the age of the actual displays and the machinery in there?
You know, the equipment, we've had volunteers who are very, very great at repairing these animatronic figures, and the equipment is in good shape.
Yeah.
It's in good shape. Not so worse for wear, actually. And that's pretty obvious going through. I mean, things are functioning well, and of course, as time goes on too, there may be other things we want to add. But within that space, we're limited in terms of the amount of expansion that we can do. But at the same time, that sized facility works well for those who come to see it. So,
who maintains those animatronic figures, and how difficult a job is that?
Well, you know, I want to say the city of Taylor owns them, and we've had a couple of volunteers who have stepped forward to do that. Off in off times during the summer months, even they've stepped forward to work on some of those those figures. I think as Santa's Magic Forest finished up last year, all of the figures were in really, really good working shape. So there's no need at this time to do further repair work. But we do have people we can call upon who are knowledgeable and can repair them gratis without expense to the city.
Which is fantastic.
Which is great.
Have you always, given in the historical context, has this always been hosted at the Activity Center?
That's a good question. The Santa's Magic Forest has been at the Activity Center for the last, 7 years now, maybe. Yeah, I think it's been about that. There was a hiatus in which Santa's Magic Forest was simply not on display. And it was a long hiatus, actually.
Really?
It may have been as long as, it may have been as long as a decade.
No kidding.
Long time. So we've been on a roll in terms of getting it done and set up every year. And we hope that COVID will again settle down. We won't have an issue with that. We're going to be able to get right back into hosting it.
Did you ever think of other venues, or you seem to really like the coziness of?
Well, first of all, it's in Heritage Park, which is in itself a great setting. There's good parking. There's no charge for the parking, and it's just a great environment overall. Also, as things get kicked off in the at the start of the season, right after that Thanksgiving weekend, there's usually a parade, big, wonderful festivity to help launch, and that's really valuable. Taylor also has now a wonderful sign along Pardee Road that announces
the marquee
things,
helps.
right? The marquee helps.
Yeah, exactly.
So promoting it, and I think just the loyalty of the community to to Santa's Magic Forest right where it is, you know, it's great to have a familiar place that you're not moving it from one place to another. That always takes a lot of adjustment. So this has been a place we've been able to consistently hold it and from year to year, and that has value too.
I know that, let me throw a little bit of a toughie at you. Since Santa's Magic Forest is the largest fundraiser for the Fish and Loaves, it has to put a hole in your budget. What do you, what type of funds does an event like that raise for you annually?
Well, it raises about ultimately about $30,000.
Okay, which is
about $30,000, which is a considerable. Yeah. It's one of the bigger fundraisers. Fish and Loaves depends upon corporate grants, foundation support, upon individual donors. We have a whole group of churches that make pledges to Fish and Loaves as well. That's been another source of support. During this COVID time, there's been other foundational support that has helped fill the gap. But this is something we always have to be concerned about. So it's been a great fundraiser. It's a way in which we've been able to connect with the community as well. And I think as people come to Santa's Magic Forest, they're also more aware that of Fish and Loaves as a resource for them. And we hope that they'll continue to get word out to those they know who are in need.
How do new businesses, organizations, or individuals become involved in that type of affair?
Well, we basically reach out to the community through the Chamber of Commerce, the Southern Wayne County Chamber of Commerce. We're involved there. They were just very generous in giving us a donation last week, and appreciated that very much. But we also then have a number of people in the community that have businesses, corporations that have already been supportive, and they continue to share word too about Fish and Loaves. The Rotary organizations have been very, and these are organizations with members, you know, well embedded in local businesses in our area in Taylor and beyond. And all of these are ways in which word about Fish and Loaves gets out. So some of it is active promotion on our part. In other instances, word of mouth through the business community itself. This is a worthy organization. You know, Fish and Loaves has launched really over 15 years ago as a community initiative. We had some great consultation and advice from gleaners. It's kind of a wholesaler food. We're in the retail business, I always say. And we've ended up as the largest food pantry in the state of Michigan, distributing 1.6 million pounds of food. About over half to almost 2/3 of the assistance we give are to Taylor residents.
Really?
But we serve 6 other communities plus. So Taylor has always been the center, and all of the contiguous communities around it are also then a part of the area for Fish and Loaves. But then there are some communities beyond that we're now reaching out to as well.
That $30,000 that you would raise at the forest, how far does that stretch in real dollars for the Fish and Loaves?
We are able to provide a meal at about $1 a piece.
Oh, it's pretty impressive.
So it goes far.
Wow.
It goes far.
You guys are special. You ought to do my shopping.
Well, a lot of it too is very little overhead. We don't volunteer support. Basically, a cadre of about 300 volunteers, and that makes a big difference right there.
Right.
We're also able to purchase food at bulk prices. There's a lot of food donations that come through, sometimes through corporate donations, direct food donations, in-kind donations in that way, but also community food drives that help us put food on the shelves. Now, one of the things that's been distinctive about Fish and Loaves is that we've been a client choice pantry, which means that we have a store in addition to the warehouse where people can come and shop at no charge. COVID has changed that. We've instead had to basically do kind of pre-prepared baskets where people come through, they take a basket. If there's food in their baskets that they cannot use, we ask them to set that aside in another basket. Others then may take that food. We want to make sure that no food goes to waste.
Right.
And the food that people take is food they're going to be able to use that's going to make a difference in the nutrition of their household.
How's that system worked?
It's actually worked well, although I will say our clients are looking forward to the day when we can get back to the client choice model again,
Right.
which affirms their dignity.
Right.
And our hope was that we were going to be able to do that by September.
Sure.
Then we pushed that back to January. Now, because of what's going on, we're going to have to push that back till probably late winter, early spring. But again, just like with Santa's Magic Forest, we are planning on getting back on track. So with client choice, because client choice we feel is the best, very best way to go, not only in terms of dignity, but also minimizing waste.
I know a lot of businesses and organizations living through the pandemic have come out of it with different things that they learned that they would have never gone down the road, but now they feel that, maybe that should be standard practice. Have you run into anything like that?
Well, I think that all of us are going to be more conscious about health, kind of health precautions, and our whole facility has been kind of rearranged. The office intake where we enroll folks, that has been changed. There are just more precautions we're taking in that way. We have, well, I just want to say in the midst of it all, we've actually expanded services, though, not only in terms of folks coming through and picking up carts, but on Saturday now we have the Market Fresh or Fresh Market program. We have 300 households every Saturday coming in to make use of that, starting at 9 o'clock.
That's fantastic.
And that is does not require people to be enrolled in the program to participate, or enrolled in the other program to participate in it. So in the middle of COVID, we have gone ahead with some other, brand new program that has been helpful to us and the guests that the clients we're seeking to serve.
How did you get involved personally with Fish and Loaves?
I came to Taylor 34 years ago, and I had been involved in food and nutrition programs in Harford County, Maryland, and very, very extensively involved. When I came to the church I served, St. Paul United Church of Christ, they had seen my history, and they said, we do not have space for a pantry here. I had never said anything about that, but that's what they immediately said.
They did their homework.
And I said, well, yes, they had. And I said, well, that's all right, but if food issues are something that need to be addressed, we need to make sure we're part of that, even if we're not going to be the site for it. Well, a couple years into my ministry, I ended up calling up a Methodist minister who had just come to town, a gentleman by the name of Hal Weemhoff. He was at Westmount United Methodist Church and on Eureka Road. And I said, Hal, I want to welcome you. And at some point when you get oriented, let's sit down and talk about the needs of our Taylor community. Taylor is this incredible city. I love Taylor. The size of it is just larger. The socioeconomic range is
Wide.
Huge.
Yeah.
It's really a city. It's a suburb, but unlike many suburbs, it really is a city in terms of its complexity. And one of the things that Reverend Weemhoff and I talked about is the need to get people together. Again, this was 32 years ago, to get people together from the community to talk about food and shelter needs. And I thought we were going to be able to get out of this whole community food program launched.
Sure.
I had thoughts about a name for it, Fish and Loaves and that sort of thing. Well, it turned out what took off instead was the ChristNet shelter because we saw viable models for doing that and recruiting churches. So in any event, it was not until 15 years later that some of the people who had been a part of those original discussions and were active in ChristNet felt that we needed to turn to food and nutrition issues in the community, especially, and these were members of the Catholic Church, St. Alfred's and Our Lady Queen of Angels, and they just felt the time had come to look at that. The Archdiocese was not able to support some of the food depot programs they had maintained before, so we needed to look at some community solutions for food needs. And out of that came the discussion about launching Community Food Pantry. And it really went from there. And very, very quickly, within a year, we were talking with the surrounding communities, and we didn't want to tread on services that were already being provided, but we looked at gaps and where help was needed. And so that is really what got us going.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Tell for viewers who may be viewing this and don't know what ChristNet is, can you run us through that?
ChristNet is a rotational shelter program, emergency shelter program, providing 30 beds of emergency shelter. Because of COVID, there's been a big change there, and we've partnered with Wayne Metro Community Action Agency, who are moteling the guests, and we are providing daytime services to ChristNet guests at this time.
Okay, all righty, fantastic. You know, do you find? Well, I was going to ask you first. What made you make the move to Taylor? Was that an assignment? Was that
no? I actually grew up in Oakland County.
Okay.
Actually, Redford Township for a while, and then outside of Franklin, Michigan, and so I was away for many, many years.
Okay.
And the call came from this particular church, St. Paul United Church of Christ,
Okay.
and I decided to come back to Detroit. I've always been passionate about Detroit. Knew nothing about Taylor.
Okay.
Nothing about Taylor, but really happy. This has been a great place for us. Taylor is just a great place to live. Last week I was at a chamber function, receiving a gift from the chamber, and they have there's a organization that promotes the downriver, and I was happy to see that because it needs promotion, and it's just a wonderful place. The location, the airport nearby, access to downtown, access to Ann Arbor if you're interested in Eastern Michigan University. I mean, just all these other places, and then plus just the quality of the community itself.
Yeah, and that you mentioned the wide range of the community. You know, the one thing I was going to ask you this because you've been around to other parts of the country, is the relationship between ministries, is it really unique to Taylor, or is that just something that because I've watched it, and so many churches, so many different faiths, yet they all join hands, they all do things for the greater good. Is that unique to Taylor, or?
I don't know whether it is unique. It is distinctive about Taylor, and distinctive also about, I think, the downriver area. One of the things, when Fish and Loaves was launched, there were foundations who felt that this client choice model was something that needed to be replicated elsewhere. There were 5 or 6 other client choice pantries that were launched. They all failed. Fish and Loaves was the only one that succeeded and prevailed in the Tri-County area, Detroit's Tri-County area. And when we talked to some of the foundation people, they had come to the conclusion that the circumstances in Taylor and the downriver area were so unique, that it was not a replicable model elsewhere. Now, I don't want to believe that's true. I don't want to believe. But at the same time, I think that says something, that there is something special. Whether it's unique, it's certainly something very, very special about the dynamics here, and the commitment to community, and taking care of those in need. And I think the fact that Taylor was the source for launching both ChristNet, the emergency shelter program, and also this community pantry that's been so phenomenally successful. I think that says a lot about Taylor.
You know, you touched on a couple of organizations that are very, very viable organizations in Taylor. I know the regional chamber being housed here is a fabulous resource in the business community to the city.
Yeah.
And the same with the Rotary. This Rotary group is extremely active, is energetic,
dynamic.
They'll run you right. They'll run you right off the road at times.
Dynamic. They're great group of men and women.
Right.
Men and women.
And they are very unique down here. There's no doubt about that. What types of other fundraisers do you guys do that, naturally you discuss bridging the gap of the funding there, but what else do you hold? I know you hold the Happy Souls 5K in the summer, but what else do you have?
Yeah, beginning in June, we do the Happy Souls 5K, and again, that's in Heritage Park, which has been a great location, and then also Par for the Course, which is our golf outing, usually taking place about the 3rd weekend in September, and that's been one of the 2 Taylor golf courses every year. That's been another important fundraiser for us. And of course, Santa's Magic Forest. So those have been the 3 major fundraisers, in addition then to individual solicitation of support from individuals, but also then churches and businesses and corporations.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, while Santa's Magic Forest has been canceled this year, many holiday-related events are still available throughout December. The Recreation Department is accepting letters to Santa at the Recreation Center mailbox through the 15th of December. Breakfast with Santa being held at 9 a.m. Saturday the 11th at the Lakes of Taylor. The Taylor Veterans Museum presents stocking stuffers for heroes from 10 to 4 on Saturday, December the 11th, here in the Media Center where the Vets Museum has relocated. We have, I know that I do that all the time. Reindeer Days is being held from 11 to 4 at Heritage Park Petting Farm on December the 11th and 12th. The Taylor Community Chorus performs We Need a Little Christmas. Its holiday concert at 4 p.m. on Sunday, December the 12th at the William Ford Senior Activity Center. And last but not least, our new Winterfest Holiday Stroll is going to be held at Heritage Park December 16, 17, and 18. That'll include Christmas holiday characters, music, lights, etc. It's kind of a Blizzard of Oz 101, kind of downsized. For more information on all those events, just click on www.cityoftaylor.com. Reverend, it's been great to have you here. We got to do this again.
Yeah, it's been great talking with you, Carl.
Yeah, this has been very, very enjoyable. Yeah. This has been another Taylor News Break. For our guest, Reverend Geoff Drutchas, along with Joe Camilleri and Samantha Rickard in our control room. I'm Carl Zymak. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next show.
Very good.